So I guess this film is a little bit, it's starting to get darker, heading towards the conclusion, and Bilbo's kind of being a little bit undone by the ring. What was that like to play? It must have been interesting.
It was. It's just layers of different characterization, I guess. Which is always interesting to play. Whether it's dark or light, you just want to play something else. I think if Bilbo had spent the first film sort of being all taciturn and moody, then it would have been interesting to play him more humorous or lighter, But given that he was fairly light and innocent in the first film, reasonably so, it's nicer to play that journey from innocence to experience, where he's not any longer frightened by his own shadow, and he is just more adept at helping out.
And I know it's been talked about a lot that you and Benedict never did act together, and it's this very long dialogue scene, like with Andy in the first film, I suppose. So, you guys obviously have an established chemistry from Sherlock.
Yeah.
What was that like, not acting with him?
In truth, without being glib about it, it was like acting with a fucking great dragon who doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it was Ben or whatever,
It was the con, really, of doing this kind of work. The pro was just the fact that it was really, really enjoyable to just have the freedom to do whatever we wanted to do with motion capture. And the characters sort of had an interaction which is very different from the dynamic of Sherlock. So it wouldn't have necessitated any sort of richer investigation, I think, of the characters. But it was just something that... It was a shame not to have his presence, We love sparring off one another, but, it would have been a very odd dynamic to have practiced because it was such a different kind of perspective to work from anyway.
If Ben and I had been in the room together, obviously that's the ideal, that you're in the room with the actor you're working with, which is what makes Gollum so handy, because you're not imagining anything. Or you're looking into Andy's eyes and you're seeing Gollum, basically, because you're hearing Gollum. Whereas I wasn't seeing or hearing Smaug.
That scale thing is so hard. It's not even like green screen where Martin and Gandalf are sort of separate ends of the studio to get the height ratio difference, or using a ping pong ball to represent a character. But Martin would have been almost the size of a fleck of dust on the carpet, and I would have been the size of a jumbo jet. It would have been really, really a huge stretch.
And Philippa was saying yesterday how heading into the conclusion, like as I said before, it's actually tragic, and people kind of forget that about The Hobbit, that it has quite...
Yeah, it does, and it gets definitely, I think, film 3, not that I've seen film 3, obviously, because no one has, but there is real great grief and loss and sadness in the third one. There's a huge sort of apocalyptic battle at the end of the book, where lots of lives are lost and, things really change forever. And, so there's that to look forward to as well.